Not every single person can do every single thing. Some people might be better at managing budgets than other people. Previously on Zillennial Nexus, or Henry's Stream of Consciousness, I talked about how I used spreadsheets to track my budget and micromanage everything so that I can afford to do what I want and know how much money I have to spend and how much I need to have set aside for XYZ. However, I do not think I talked all that much about using AI to help with that, which it might be useful for someone who's not as meticulous as me. Which brings me to the article I want to talk about today from Business Insider. I use ChatGPT to manage my finances. Helped me spend better and save. By Julie Cappiello. Before we find out how she used ChatGPT to manage her budget and see what we can learn from this, be sure to give this video a like if you enjoy it. Comment what you think about all this. Comment if you have any special strategies for saving money. Not just saying, don't spend what you don't have. That's obvious. But if you have anything more creative than that, be sure to let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for daily videos of cultural commentary from a man caught between generations. Last summer, I felt completely broke and buried in debt. I had a stable job with regular pay increases, but still found myself constantly overdrafting my account. Between living in a pricey US city and dealing with inflation, credit card debt, and lingering student loans, I felt like I could never quite get ahead of my finances. The stress was overwhelming, affecting my mental health, and adding to my shame about managing adulthood. One day, while scrolling through social media, I saw people using ChatGPT for everything from mapping out their schedule to setting personal goals. That's when it hit me. Maybe I could use the AI tool to create an optimized spending plan. Yeah, you can use it for pretty much anything. I use it to calculate how much I can get out of something I buy at the grocery store. So, for example, it said I would get about 17 or so, and this is grok that I'm using, cups of flour from a 5-pound bag. It was off by about one, but it was close enough. So, pro tip, leave a little room for error when it's something like that. It's also how I know that I should not buy another 4-ounce jar of yeast for maybe 2 to 3 pizzas, depending on how long the one I currently have lasts. I will get back to you on that when I reach the end of that. But getting back to the article, I identified and labeled my monthly expenses, then asked ChatGPT for a spending plan. To start, I wrote down all my fixed monthly expenses like rent, bills, and subscriptions. Then, I labeled which items were necessities. This forced me to decide whether my monthly coffee subscription was necessary or if I really needed 2 different gym memberships. Um, why would you need 2 different gym memberships? Did you just neglect to cancel one, like how I neglected to cancel Planet Fitness for about 6 months in 2021? And yes, that actually happened. That's a story for another day. Then I entered my monthly expenses and dates when certain payments were due into ChatGPT using the following prompt. Help me develop a monthly budget. These are my fixed expenses and the days they're due. I'm actually going to save these for myself so that I can play around with it later. I'm going to have to report back to you in a separate video about that. But yeah, again, this is personal budgeting. It has nothing to do with investing. YouTube, to be clear, this is not financial advice. ChatGPT also asked me to list all my income sources, so I did. The AI tool then offered to create a spreadsheet to track my expenses, but I declined because I didn't want to be tied to something I needed to update constantly. And also, the link might not have worked. I tried using ChatGPT to generate a spreadsheet for tracking some information for future videos I have planned, but the links kept on being broken, so I had to have it tell me what to put in, and then I manually put it into a numbers document on my MacBook. So yeah, it's not a perfect tool, but it is a tool. You can get you it can get you what you need. It can speed things up to some extent, even if it doesn't bring it to like warp 10, but I digress. Instead, I asked for a spending plan to overcome my biggest challenge, making ends meet at the beginning of the month, which when most of my major bills were due. It created a plan to help me cover my monthly expenses and maximize my remaining income. What I needed wasn't more math, but a strategy to lighten the load and smooth out my cash flow. ChatGPT helped me build exactly that. The AI platform suggested I split my paychecks in half, using a portion for my current bills and holding the rest in a savings account for the ones due later in the month. This way, when the first of the month came around, I'd already have those expenses partially covered from my previous paycheck. But I won't lie, this was tough to navigate during the first month. I had to dip into my already dwindling savings and live on a strict essentials only rule. However, I knew it could be worth it in the long run. Yeah, sometimes a little suffering is necessary for long-term gains. It's true with what she's doing here right now. It's true with working out for whatever reason you have for working out. And it's true for something like, say, writing a book and then having to put aside dopamine hit dopamine hits like video games or TV or such. Sometimes you do have to become a ghost, like all the self-improvement memes say. Maybe not completely disappear, but you do have to lock in and put in the work and make sacrifices along the way. And it's like Sam Witwicky's great great grandfather said in Transformers, no sacrifice, no victory. The staggering strategy ChatGPT suggested keeps my finances balanced, helps me stay ahead of instead of catching up, and eliminates the panic of paycheck to paycheck living. Once my essential expenses were covered, I wanted to ensure my leftover income would be used intentionally. So I sent a follow-up prompt, this time asking for a breakdown of my remaining funds. After sharing more details about my income and savings goals, ChatGPT produced a plan I found to be super helpful. With it, I can allocate money to my savings and debt repayment while leaving myself cash for personal spending. Since using ChatGPT, I've noticed a big difference in my financial situation. Perhaps I could have figured out these plans or similar ones myself with a bit of research, a pen and paper. However, I'm grateful I had a little help. Since implementing some of these strategies last year, I've felt much more in control of my finances and haven't overdrafted my account at all. Does anyone in the comments want to say whether she's really in control or if she's just outsourcing it to ChatGPT? Personally, I think if there's a bit of outsourcing to ChatGPT where as long as she's not following it blindly and is second guessing where reasonable or looking at what it's saying and being like, hang on, this doesn't make sense, then I think she'd be good to go. Then again, not every single person can do every single thing. Some people might be better at managing budgets than other people. Like, I'm sure there's someone who's better at managing budgets than me. I came up with my own personal system that works for me, that makes a lot of sense. I put it out there in that video I mentioned, but at the end of the day, I am not a certified personal accountant, so I wouldn't know any of this, any of the finer details. I just put out a layman's version that breaks it down as needed. And I'm pretty sure we all have expenses that we bring in that we could probably do without. But I digress. I now prioritize savings and debt repayment without cutting out personal spending, something I never thought was possible. Using the platform to optimize my budget allowed me to break my income into smaller, manageable chunks. It shifted my focus from surviving paycheck to paycheck to actually planning ahead. Now I live within my means and have started to rebuild my savings. But most importantly, I feel calm about money for the first time in a long time. That said, ChatGPT isn't perfect. I found I had to be really specific with my prompts. The more detailed and clear I was about my income, expenses, and goals, the more useful and accurate the guidance was. At the end of the day, ChatGPT is not a financial advisor, and neither am I, but it can be a really thoughtful and responsive budgeting partner if you're willing to put in a little effort up front. Yeah, I'd say it's no different than if you went up to someone you know and was like, friend or family member, I need your help with budgeting. Okay, here are things that you can eliminate the cost of. Oh no, I can't bring myself to do that. Well, this is what it's going to take. Just like what Strong Successful Male said about fitness trainers being like, this is the plan that it's going to take to do the thing. And then the client's like, oh, heck no, I can't do that. And then he's like, all right. And then the client doesn't achieve the results. Basically, yeah, ChatGPT is just that, a tool in the toolbox to give you information you need to make an informed decision. It can definitely take some of the burden off of yourself, like if you watch my video about how I budget, you can probably find ways for me to outsource some of that to ChatGPT. But going back to this video, I'm just going to wrap it up here. You let me know in the comments down below what you think about all this. Do you think ChatGPT would be useful for that, especially if you customize it with the custom instructions? Or do you think people are just pathetic and need to learn how to manage their finances better? You let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe for daily videos of cultural commentary from a man caught between generations. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.